Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Hardly Millennial Podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
opinions.
Opinions. That is right. You heard it here first. Again, my name is Adam Hansen. And
I'm Matthew Lynn.
And that's Matthew Lynn. And we're really excited to be here with you guys again today. Really quick, shout out to my good friend Kyle, who put $20 in the jar for us yesterday.
Thank you so much, Kyle. You rock, bro.
Yeah, he's an active listener. He writes comments on a lot of our videos. Everybody could take a page out of the book of Kyle.
The book of Kyle?
The book of Kyle.
He's a great guy. He's shown a lot of support to the millennials over the last week since our launch. Yeah, we can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you on this journey with us.
And one day when we have a little more equipment, we'll have him on as a guest on the podcast. And you guys can all meet Kyle.
Yeah, we can't wait to meet Kyle.
Yeah, it'll be great. So, shout out to you, Kyle. What do we have as topics today, Matthew?
As our topics today, well, we're all over the spectrum today, guys. So here's the deal. Adam got woken up, let's say, prematurely this morning.
Yes.
And he has been quietly on one the whole morning.
Just quietly.
Very quietly. He's keeping it to himself, except he's also sharing it with me.
My brain's just in a fog.
So we had a tough time thinking of topics for you today, but we came up with a few. I think that we can make this work, guys.
I think we'll get going with it.
So one thing I did want to ask you, as I was sitting on the couch contemplating my life and the different things going on in it, I realized that we're at a point with Hardly Millennial, man, where we have about 50 consecutive viewers that are watching all of these podcasts.
That's true. It's awesome.
Which is crazy. We did not think after a week we would have a following of 50, 50 plus. So it got me thinking, what if there were actually like 50 human beings in the room with you that would just follow you anywhere? Where do you go, Adam? What do you do with that?
Well, Matthew, that is called a cult.
Is it a cult? It's just a following at first.
Well, at first, I guess it's a following.
It's whatever you make it. You want to make it a cult?
Oh, I mean, like, is it a cult where like everybody just kind of follows around one person and?
Well, it could be an entourage.
Groupies, entourage.
Yeah, there's a lot of words
entourage of 50 people. Where do we go? We probably go visit some theme parks.
You going to the theme park?
Why the heck not?
Interesting.
If I have 50 followers follow me everywhere, I'm assuming I have the money and influence to receive such followers. I could just buy everybody tickets to Disneyland and go chill.
That would be expensive.
It would be expensive, but I'll be rich, so... That's the only.
You're assuming if you had 50 real life people following you, you'd be rich.
Now, if poor Adam had 50 followers,
if you open the door of the studio and you walk out into the front lobby, and I made it sound like we have a whole different building we shoot in. We really don't. If you walk in the living room and there's 50 people, like Adam, where are we going? And assuming you don't have to work today, of course.
Of course. Where are we going? I don't know, actually.
I thought of a very specific plan.
I've never thought of any scenario like that. Like,
really?
Where would I know? Like, where would I take just
Is
a
it
bunch
weird
of
that I
people?
think of it pretty often, actually?
I don't think it's weird. I think it's just a thought I have not thought of before.
Well, here's what I would do.
Okay, what would you do?
So the first thing I thought is I would walk up and down the street and knock on everyone's door and ask if they had any yard work that they needed done.
Okay.
And I would just use my 50 followers as a crew to clean yards.
Oh, truly capitalizing
for $75 a yard. And well, I mean, yeah, the first thing I'm going to do if I have 50 people are going to do anything for me, I'm going to start a business. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm not going to a theme park. It's crazy.
Touche. Well, I guess
I like the idea of that.
I guess there's two different kinds of people, isn't there? Let's all go to Disneyland. I'm gonna put you guys to work.
Yeah, I got 100 hands, man. That's a lot of hands.
That is a lot of hands. I mean, they're willing to follow you. I'm sure they'll do some yard work for you, pick up some leaves, do some raking, some mowing.
You could just like stand in the middle of the street and not let any cars go by. and just see how long it takes before like the whole town is in an uproar. Because I don't think that's technically an illegal thing to do, is it?
To stand in the middle of the road?
Just stand there.
Yes.
But you're not hurting anyone.
It's still illegal. If jaywalking's illegal, standing in the middle of the road is illegal.
Okay, what if you find a crosswalk? You just stand in the middle of the crosswalk.
Well, if the light is green at the crosswalk, I'm pretty sure at that point it's a federal, not a federal offense, but you're breaking the law.
But pedestrians always have the right of way. You have to stop for a pedestrian.
Well, sure, you have to stop, but it doesn't mean that it's against the law. It's not against the law for them to do it. You just can't kill them when they're in that situation. You're not allowed to run them over.
I don't think they can arrest you for standing in the street.
Yes, they can.
Can they?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, more people would do it, huh?
100%. Dude, okay, so this happened.
What if you were protesting? Don't you have a right to protest? What if you had a sign?
Well, that's happened, and cops always end up coming and dispersing it.
That's true. They don't call it arresting. They call it dispersing.
Yeah. I mean, in those cases, though, like, if you have a group of people who are protesting and stuff like that, I feel like they're just like, go home or we will start arresting people, and then everybody kind of leaves. If you're one single person doing it, you're totally getting arrested.
Did you hear about that group of people, the pink protesters? Recently? Yeah, I want to say it was in the Netherlands, but I'm not totally 100% sure. But I think it was in a European country.
They're called the pink protesters?
Well, that's what they got dubbed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what they did is they went to this airport where, like, there was a flight that was going to take a bunch of immigrants who had been found, I guess, guilty of being in whichever country it was incorrectly. They were illegally in the country. So they were going to send them back to where they came from, I guess.
Okay.
So they had this flight, and they were ready to go. And these group of people, there was like 20 of them or something, 20 or 30 of them, they like cut the fence with fence cutters and got into this airport and ran up on the tarmac and then laid underneath the plane so it couldn't take off. And they laid there for like 8 hours or something crazy, 8 or 12 hours or something. And it was long enough that the plane actually got delayed. Like, they couldn't take off.
Right.
And so, of course, like, they just took off the next day, right, and took everyone home. Yeah. But it was like this crazy victory for them, and they all got in a lot of trouble. Like, they got arrested, and then they're all, like, facing long sentences now because they obstructed the airport. You can't do that, right?
Well, that's the same thing that happens with traffic. You're obstructing traffic. You can't do that shit.
Well, but here's the thing. They actually... there was at least one case on that plane where, because of the delay, they were able to get a hold of the court and they got another trial, and they were actually allowed to stay in the Netherlands or whatever country it was they were in. Right. The people actually got to stay. So the pink protesters were like, "Yay, we saved a life."
I mean, I guess that just proves that, you know, it doesn't really matter what you do. It just matters whether or not people like you. People like you, it seems like you can just get away with anything, honestly. Or you'll have people who stand up for you. I mean,
I don't think they're going to get away with it. I think they're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but they got what they wanted at the end of it, didn't they? Wasn't the whole point to make sure this guy stayed in the country?
Well, there was like 100+ people on the plane, and one guy got to stay.
Right.
But I mean, it's better than none, right?
I mean, I guess
it worked out
that's
a little
victory
bit.
depending how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
You know,
but they all. Oh, and the reason they were pink, they all dressed up in pink.
What was the reasoning for that?
I think just so that they all were like uniform.
Oh, well, good for them. Was that in the Netherlands, you said?
I really think it was, but I'm not positive. But I do think it was the Netherlands.
Protesting seems to be like just such a fad these days. Yeah, like it's like this trend. Like, I just feel like everybody's protesting everything anymore. Like, there's just always some kind of protest going on.
Yeah, it's a right. It's a beautiful thing to practice.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a beautiful thing to practice.
I think
that's
people have
not
always
a
done
right.
it.
I'm just saying the amount of people protesting today as opposed to maybe like 10, 15 years ago is, I feel like, just this dramatic increase.
You know,
there's
interesting
always marches,
you say that.
There's always protests, and sometimes I don't even know like what people are hoping from these like protests and results. People will march, but nobody's like, I don't know. I just feel like protesting is just almost like a fad anymore. There's
Well, I
just
think
so many
that
people who protest about anything.
I think first of all, that there's more news coverage now than ever. And that's why. So I think the same amount of protesting is probably going on, but we're hearing a lot more about it. But it's interesting because that's a take you can use on anything about the news.
Right.
Everyone always says, oh, the news is so negative. And I mean, it is. 'Cause
Right.
people dwell on negative more. There's been experiments done on the brain. The brain prefers to remember negative things so that it doesn't do it again. So they do sell a lot of like commercial time with these negative ads and stories, but also I don't think there's more negativity happening in the world. I think we just have much quicker, almost instant access to it. You know what I mean? So more instances can be covered within one day than ever before.
I would agree with you on the front that I think it's due to news coverage, but I don't think the same amount of protesting has always been happening and we're just covering more of it.
No?
What I think is happening is because of the kind of access we have to news now and everybody can film instances and moments on their phones now. I think a lot of us are like kids in a candy shop. We walk in and we're just like, we don't know what to get. We don't know what to eat. So there's like all of these things that people feel strongly about and want to fight for. So it's like, today we're going to fight for this. And then, but there's also this we have to protest. Oh, and there's also this that's really wrong that we have to march about. And I feel like it's happening like that. And nobody's really focusing on one because there's so many that people feel so strongly about. That's like, we're going to do this now. We're going to do this now.
Do those people have jobs?
I mean,
Like,
they have to, right?
Think if you wanted to go out and protest, right? Like, it either has to perfectly work out that it's on your day off,
Right.
which you get one of a week, or you got to call out to go to the protest. You can't do that.
Well, I don't think anybody, I mean, I'm sure some people call out of work, but usually these protests, most of them, I should say, are usually planned like ahead. Like I have people I work with and even friends who have gone to some of these protests and marches and things like that, and they've known they're going to them for weeks in advance.
Oh, so they like schedule it.
Yeah, they're usually scheduled. Well, you even still to like protest and march and everything, you have the right to do it, but you still have to like get a permit. Like let's say that you're trying to march down certain roads, like those roads have to be closed for you. Like,
see, I feel like a good protest, one that really works, should be spontaneous.
well, absolutely.
It should be like, we just heard this news, we're pissed off, let's go protest right now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you're like, we're going to be upset a week from now, maybe I got over it in the week.
But that's why I think right now protesting has kind of become a fad, because I feel like, especially during the 2016 presidential election, year, I feel like there were a lot of spontaneous protests that happened. But the problem was there were so many of them happening all over the country for different reasons, where it's hard for somebody to focus on one and then move to this one. And it was kind of like the conversation we had about the kids who would walk out of school but did it on a school day.
Oh, yeah.
So it creates this perception of, you're just trying to get out of school. Well,
Right.
I feel like it's the same kind of thing. It's like sure, you guys all feel very strongly about these things that have caused you to spontaneously protest and riot. But,
I don't condone rioting. We should not riot.
Yeah, but the boy who cried wolf, at one point people just stopped believing him. And when you have everybody doing it so many times for so many reasons,
We get desensitized to it.
Yeah, it takes away the
Yeah.
validity from all of them. School shootings are a perfect example. I remember I was, how old was I? Maybe like 8 or 9 when the Columbine shooting happened back in like a 97,
That's like the
98.
OG one. For a long time,
Right.
that was like the only one that we talked about.
Well, and that's my point. I remember
years.
even as a little kid in elementary school, like I knew that happened. I knew how big of a deal it was, and everybody was just up in arms about that 2 kids would take a gun to school and shoot each other, and shoot other fellow classmates.
Yeah.
But now look at the society we live in, where these shootings and specifically school shootings happen so often, where it's every time we go through our phones and see an article of this school shooting, it's like, oh, well, that happened again today.
But I think that it doesn't, so for all of us watching the news, we get desensitized to it.
Right.
But I think even if you've seen 100 news articles on it, and then you're involved in one,
Right.
like one actually happens at your school,
Yes.
So now all of a sudden it gets super real. Now all of a sudden you're extremely passionate about it.
Yeah.
You probably know people who are affected. It means a lot in your life now. It holds a lot of value to you. So you're going to be an advocate of it not happening again.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So I can totally see how like every instance is still really important and has a lot of weight to the people involved.
Absolutely.
But for the rest of us who will go our entire lives never being involved in something like that, it's not that we're sick of hearing about it. It's that we're just so used to hearing about it that it's lost its, oh my gosh.
Right.
We're still passionate. We're still compassionate about it. But when you hear about it 3 times a month for a year, it becomes just another one.
Well, and that's how I feel about protesting specifically, and that's why I feel that we've reached a point where if any group of people that feel strongly about something, the way that something's done, and if they want to get that change, whether it's a law or a policy or hell, even the Constitution, unfortunately, because of what protesting and just the way you described the desensitization from all that stuff, like protesting just doesn't work anymore. You know, when was the last time that you've seen one of these women's marches or one of these Trump protests or whatever the protest is for actually change the thing that they're trying to protest?
The only one that I've ever been taught actually worked is the civil rights movement.
Is that the only one?
That I've ever been widely taught achieved anything. Every other protest that I personally have ever known of or been taught about, it didn't accomplish anything. Not to say that there haven't been huge accomplishments. I'm sure there are. I'm definitely not versed in every instance of it that's ever happened.
Right.
But as far as I know, Martin Luther King is the only one who did it.
I mean, I can't think of another one either, but just as you said, I feel like there is another one out there.
That still took like years. Right? It was still a long time. It wasn't just 1 or 2 protests.
Well, wasn't the turning point and I mean, I'm not well versed in history of any sort.
Shame on us.
But I mean,
isn't this literally Black History Month?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the internet's gonna kill us.
But there was a specific peaceful march he did. I felt that was the turning point where it was just them walking from one point to another. And
they marched on the Capitol with like 1 million people.
Right, but
they filled up the whole Capitol.
I think this was before that, though.
The Lincoln Monument or whatever. They filled up that whole thing.
I think this was before that, though. I can't
remember.
I
think all of his protests were peaceful, bro. That was his whole thing. Because they would, the police would be really mean to them. They would, hurt them and attack them. And, the people were always peaceful about it.
Right.
That's how they, they kept their credibility, is that they never fought back.
The problem is, though, you're right, because they didn't fight back, but the reason why it was so successful is because people fought them. So it really makes the enemy look more like an enemy. The problem with these protests...
He was smart. He knew that. Martin Luther King knew that.
Absolutely. And the problem with these protests is, there are these peaceful marches that happen and everything, but nobody really feels strongly towards the opposite, to want to fight against them, to say no.
They always paint the picture of, look at the last one we just saw with the Native American man and the young kid who the only thing the news showed was the screaming that happened when the kid was screaming at the elder guy.
Right, that all these reports came out about how the other side
and
was
then
aggravating.
You actually look into it and you find out there was a lot more going on than just that 30 seconds.
A lot of gray area.
So I don't think there are very many more peaceful protests anymore.
Yeah,
a lot of times it turns into screaming matches. It turns into a pissing contest.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think the validity of protests have disappeared just because of that. It's almost become a social thing to do with your friends, I feel like, especially with the younger crowd.
So my mom and dad are both from France, right? Well, my mom was born in France. My dad lived in France for a long time.
Right.
And they always taught me that, when they were younger and growing up in France, the French people protest very differently than we do here. So what they'll do in France is they have a lot of groups of workers. So what we call unions here. So all of the truckers are a big group there. All of the grocery workers are a big group. And they fight for their rights. Okay. Right. So if there's a law that comes out that says we're going to increase the fuel tax, okay, and the truckers are pissed, they will literally stop driving their trucks. They will literally park them in the middle of the road so no one can drive by, and they'll just stay home. And they won't go to work.
I think truckers did that here a few years back.
But everyone will do it. They'll literally they'll put up blockades in the street. They'll stack tires up so that no one can go through the streets. They don't march with signs and stuff as much as we do, but they just won't
make
go
an
to work.
inconvenience for people.
They'll totally shut down whatever industry it is. And it's not a law or anything, but it's like a social obligation.
Right.
Everyone just knows if your group strikes, you just do it with them. It's part of your society.
See, and that's another thing with protests. I feel like when you are a trucker within a trucker union and there's a rise in fuel tax and you guys as a trucker union do not like that, well, the proper way to protest to get something done is take these trucks that you have to pay more higher taxes on now, park them in the middle of the street and make it inconvenient for people, right? And that got people's attention, right?
Well, it's a big deal.
So what I see now with protesting, and this goes back to the 2016 election, I remember shortly after Trump was elected, I believe there was a group of people in Los Angeles who were protesting Trump, and their way of doing it was going onto the 405. And you know about the traffic in Los Angeles, and creating this blockade so that no cars could pass.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're making sure that people can't get home. You're making sure that people have to stay in traffic 2 hours longer than their already 3-hour thing.
It's deeper than that. The food doesn't get to the grocery stores.
Exactly.
The ice doesn't get to the restaurants.
So
it's a big deal.
So in the case of protesting the president of the United States, blocking a road is not going to be what people listen to. You know, now you just look like an asshole. So there's a right and a wrong way to protest. I just think it's done for the wrong reasons a lot anymore, and that's done the wrong way. A lot of the times it turns into riots.
In the case of France, more often than not, very quickly they get the results that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Like within the first few weeks, they usually get the result that they want.
That does not surprise me at all. I think when the truckers did it here, because I do remember there was an instance, I think it was like 5-6 years ago now.
I kind of remember it.
But there was a truckers union strike, and they did just that. I think it was all like in one area that it happened, because I think it was just like a statewide thing for these truckers. But I remember all the truckers in that state were like driving their cars out into the middle of the highway and then just parking
them there.
Yeah.
Just bye.
Yeah, exactly. And they were parking, getting out of their truck, and just walking away.
So it's amazing if you do a little research into the trucking industry, how reliant a country like America still is on 18-wheelers driving things around. Like if the trucking stopped, it would literally shut down everything. You wouldn't be able to go anywhere.
No.
You couldn't go to the bookstore and get books.
Nope.
You couldn't go to the grocery store and get food. There's just nothing.
Even on one that goes even more so unnoticed, like people don't understand how important trains still are.
I was just thinking that trains are huge.
Like
dude.
Trains are still huge.
So the trains move it
transportation.
from like state to state, and then the trucks will take it off the train and disperse it from there.
Exactly.
And so I really like the shows like Doomsday Preppers and stuff like that. So everyone always finds a hole or a vault or something, right? And they dig and they go and have their little shelter underground.
Right.
There was one guy I watched that decked out an 18-wheeler. So he made it all like bulletproof and like sturdy, ready to go. It had this big ram in the front of it so it could like get through obstacles.
Oh, wow.
He put like a garbage truck arm on the top so it could like reach down and pick shit up from in front of it and like throw it over it.
Whew, that man is preparing for the worst.
But his whole philosophy, he was a truck driver.
Right.
And he said if the shit ever hits the fan and the trucking goes down, he'll be the only guy who can move stuff from one place to another. Or him and a small group of who got ready for it would keep it going. So I guess there are a few people out there who think about that. And, you know, even if it goes totally south, they'll keep trucking for us.
You know, it's funny. We make fun of the Doomsday Preppers sometimes. But really, if shit does hit the fan for the world...
Joke's on us, huh?
They're the ones continuing the human race.
My dad actually always said, he had a joke that, I have to rephrase the way that he would say it because he was kind of insensitive about it. He would say basically, there's all these people who are doomsday prepping, right? So you got a garage full of supplies, okay? And all that's going to happen when the world actually goes down the shitter is 12 guys with rifles are going to come to your house and steal it. You know, so really all these people are just prepping for the rest of us who are just going to go take all their stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
that's not entirely untrue.
Right? Like, what are you going to do against 12 guys with guns?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not a lot.
Especially when you're a family of like 4.
Not a lot.
And you're just, yeah.
I'd find a Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
I go to Walmart, I buckle down, dude.
There's actually a book series I really enjoy called, I want to say it's called Monument 14. And it's about these kids ranging anywhere from like 5 to like 16, right?
Oh, cool.
That were on their way to school, all on the same bus in the morning. And while they were on their way to school, shit hit the fan. And basically there was like not chemical warfare, but like stuff you would see in chemical warfare got like released into the air, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so they all had to find shelter. Well, something happened to the bus driver, and all these kids went to, in the book it was called something different, but it was a Walmart, right? It was a superstore.
Right, yeah.
And they like just put up camp in the superstore, and the entire book is just about like what they were doing, how like they how some kids went off and did their own thing, and they had to take care of the little kids, and it was very interesting.
Book, were they the only ones at the Walmart, or were there other people?
They were the only ones.
Oh, see, that's a perfect world.
So it was just
because the
these
issue with
kids.
Walmart is everyone's going there.
Yeah.
I think the real survivors, the ones who actually would make it, are the ones who go out into like the hills.
Yeah.
Like get the hell away from civilization, get away from the town.
Yeah.
Go out in the desert, go out in the forest for a few weeks, and then you come back. That's what they did in The Walking Dead, right? They chilled in the camper. The whole first season, they were in the little village camper trailer.
I never watched a lot of Walking Dead.
Oh, shame on you.
I know.
Oh, man. You just said that on the internet.
I know. Oh, a lot of the big shows I haven't
Why would you say
seen.
something like, oh, well, that'll get us some comments
I
for sure.
haven't seen Game of Thrones either. I know.
Adam.
I know.
It's so good.
I know.
Oh.
I've never really been into the medieval stuff.
The Dragon Princess is my favorite.
I did
love
see
her.
I did see the.
She's a queen, I think. Khaleesi.
Are you talking about the blonde one?
Yeah, I'm talking about the blonde one.
Okay.
Of course I'm talking about the blonde one.
I think I saw, or not. I know I saw the whole first season, and I was able to get through half of the second season.
You know what's funny about the first season?
What?
I guess I could just say it. Everyone's seen it by now. So most of the main characters that you fall in love with the first seaon, they die. They're not even there for the second one.
Oh, yeah. No, don't get me wrong. When
they do a huge purge at the end of the first season and just kill everyone.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw all the first season. So I remember Sean Bean was in it, and he was like the main guy.
He was the king, right? The dude with the black hair.
Not the king. He was like a friend of the king, though. He was the one who had like Arya as a daughter, and I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the King of the North. Well, he's not the King of the North, but yeah, we're talking about the same guy.
Okay.
The one that they behead. They cut his fucking head off.
Yes. That guy. So
talk about the same guy.
It was definitely a what the fuck moment when that happened.
They spent the whole season setting up his character. Like, okay, now you're gonna get 12 more seasons of him. Psych.
Yep.
Head chopped off.
Yep.
He doesn't matter anymore.
And that just became a trend for Game of Thrones at that point. I did enjoy the show. But funny enough, the two very popular shows out right now have to do with subjects that I don't really have much interest in. So like The Walking Dead is out, but I've never been into the zombie thing.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like I've never met a person who wasn't into zombies.
No, I mean I've seen a couple, and I have seen of quite a few episodes of Walking Dead just from being with other people, and they're watching it and things, and I do enjoy it. They do have some powerful writing in that show.
The whole cast is dead now.
Yeah,
they've just murdered everyone.
But powerful writing in that show. As far as zombie stuff is concerned, that's a good one. But same thing with Game of Thrones. I've just never been into the medieval stuff.
How do you not like dragons and swords and armor?
I do like those things, but I don't like them in the context of like medieval. I like them in the context of like more fantasy stuff. So like more like Harry Potter, like you see that stuff in Final Fantasy kind of stuff. I like that kind of shit. But
like the sci-fi,
but like the medieval taking place back in like the whatever 14th century and shit. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'm fascinated with that.
No, I've never been into that stuff.
I even love the music, like the lute, like that little bitty guitar that the bards used to like.
Oh, see, and I hate that.
Like the do 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 do.
Yeah, see, I hate that.
I love it.
I hate it.
Oh, dude, crazy.
Like that kind of music. Not necessarily. I hate the like Renaissance like medieval stuff. I just never had much interest in it.
I'm amazed. I had no idea.
Yeah, a lot of people are amazed. There's a lot of little things like that where people are like, "What?"
Do you like dragons?
Oh, I love
I
dragons.
fucking love dragons. They're dope.
I love the fuck out of dragons.
Ice or fire?
But probably ice.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
be different.
No, I think I've just always seen like dragons through the years that I've seen or come across. Like I know a few dragons, but no, like okay. So perfect example is when I was in elementary school, my teacher, and I've never been able to find this book since, but she had this book and it was just like the Book of Dragons, and
That sounds amazing.
and every page was just a different illustration of a dragon, and it was just this author's depiction of what different breeds of dragon were.
I want that book.
Yeah, it was
That sounds
great.
so cool.
Oh, it was so fun. And I remember there were two dragons that I really liked. There was like this ice dragon
Yeah.
I was super into.
Yeah.
And then there was this one dragon that I don't think was like necessarily a fire or any kind of elemental dragon, but I just remember it was like all gold. And it had like the face of one of those like old school Chinese dragons with the little beard and the kind of the square face and everything. But
This is gonna step on some toes. I know it is. I'm not into the Asian dragon. Like
Oh, you're
the
not?
Far East depiction of the dragon.
talking about the thing that looks like kind of a long snake. Those things.
Not into it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm old school. I like the European dragon. I like the big, girthy, scaly, breathes fucking fire.
I like both. I think they both have their own kind of. I actually like the Japanese dragons more so than the Chinese ones, which are both kind of like that snake-like dragon. But usually the Japanese ones have more of a. I don't know how to describe it.
Badassery.
Not even so much badassery, just more like you're talking. We're talking about like think of the dragons from China, those with like the
Mushu.
big, kind of like Mushu with the big like but I'm talking about specifically with like the big square heads and stuff they're used in
Gotcha,
festivals,
gotcha.
compared to like Shenron from Dragon Ball Z. Is more
Shenron's
of
way
like
cooler.
yeah, and that's more of like the Japanese kind of style dragon with the big whiskers. And,
Oh yeah, like the wise dragon.
yeah, that stuff like a
Those
Falcor,
guys are badass.
you know?
I like those. So I've only very recently in my life, like the last year, really gotten in touch with my Japanese roots.
Oh yes,
Yes.
Tell us more.
Well, for the longest time growing, anyone who's listening who knew me at a younger age, I was never very inspired by Eastern traditions, Eastern being Asian. Like I just wasn't super into the culture. I didn't really like the writing. I didn't really like the style of architecture. I just nothing about it really shouted out to me. I didn't hate by any means. I didn't wish any ill will on anyone.
Right.
I just wasn't particularly enthusiastic about Asian styles.
Okay.
But then I moved out of my parents' house and I moved into the real world.
Right.
And I met people who showed me pictures of the real world. And I started to learn about this island called
Yes.
Japan.
Yes.
And it's a mythical fairy tale land, Adam. It's amazing.
You've actually brought up Japan before on the podcast.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, how funny, guys. I love it.
Ever since, so I've wanted to go to Japan my whole life. I've done countless school reports on it. I know a lot about it. And I showed Matthew one or two videos of like what's going on in Japan. And Matthew just instantly has fallen in love.
Oh my God, guys. It is incredible. So we all know the cherry blossoms, obviously. Like, can you imagine just as far as the eye can see, just beautiful white and pink flowers all over everything. Just look up some pictures, guys. There's nothing else like it anywhere in the world. It's totally its own thing.
One day we'll go there and we'll vlog about it. And
I hear it's really expensive.
yeah, it's definitely something that will take saving up. It's not a cheap trick.
They are not poor in
cheap
Japan.
trick.
They're
It's not a
doing
cheap
okay.
trick.
So one thing I've heard of Japan, though, and I don't know a lot about it, is that like their population is getting old. So like they don't have a lot of babies anymore like they used to, not as much as they used to. And the population is like out-aging itself. So if they're not careful, they're going to have not enough people of childbearing age to keep up with the amount of people who are getting elderly and dying. So the population will start to decrease.
It's funny, I haven't heard that, but what I have heard is that Japan has the largest population of the oldest people. So like there are parts of Japan with older people who live there that are like well over, like not well over, but over 100 years old. And I think there's a specific island off the coast of Japan somewhere where it's like dubbed the island of the elder people or something like that. And it's just a bunch of people who are super old. They just live super long.
And I think that probably coincides with a lower birth rate, which equals out to it's becoming an issue, a population issue. Everyone's getting too old. They're living too long. They're not having enough babies. It's not a good equation, man.
No, I mean...
And they're not super isolated, but they're kind of isolated.
Well, no, I mean... Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not a lot of people you meet who are constantly going to like vacation there or visiting there often, but so you don't really hear a lot about it.
At least not in Arizona. But not in our little corner of the woods.
Well, and the thing with a lot of the news that you hear anymore is about foreign affairs, is the U.S. colluding with Russia? What's happening in the Middle East? The border between Mexico, right?
Oh,
Japan's never really a part of any of that news.
Oh, I think Japan's our homies, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I think we love Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We get a lot. Without them, we wouldn't have a lot of the electronics that we have.
I was just going to say, they're like America's laptop.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like, we just, right off the shore, we keep our laptop. And anytime we need to go on there, we can.
Everything we have, aside from Apple, but like Samsung, that's all.
Apple's America, right? That came from us.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
Woo! I think Microsoft is too.
Yeah, they did come from it. Yeah, Microsoft. A lot of the leading ones actually did, but...
Well, the leading ones in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think they lead everywhere, though.
Yeah, a lot of places, I feel like. They'd have to.
Well, they're not leading in China. That's a pretty big thing in the news.
Well, yeah, not in China.
China has its own Apple that's in a lot of trouble right now.
Yeah, but they're still a commie country, so that doesn't surprise
I don't know
me.
anything about that.
You don't know anything about
zero.
that?
I don't know anything about communists or communism or any of that stuff.
Well, it's basically just extreme
They like
socialism.
the color red, right?
They like the
color red.
Yeah, they got that. I think it's the sickle and the...
Not to be confused with Republicans who also like the color red.
Yes.
And that's literally as much as I know about that.
That'll be a conversation for another day. We could talk about communism.
So, recent development in the millennial household. We have some family coming in from out of town this weekend. And some of us in the house are a little more nervous than others. Some of us are excited. And it just got me to thinking, we've all had family come in from out of town, and we felt different ways about them. Sometimes you're really excited. I feel like more often than not, you're less excited.
Right.
Right? No one really loves when family comes in from out of town, usually. So how do you deal with something like that? What's the best way to survive family visiting?
Well, I have personally never really minded it, nor have I ever dreaded.
You like your family?
Having somebody, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, the ones that like stay in contact with us and come to those kind of events and everything. Like so I see a lot of my dad's side a lot more often because a lot of them are in Arizona or closer. Like I'm really close to my cousin out in Los Angeles. And that's all from my dad's side. But like I've seen, like I had my uncle from my mom's side lived down here for a long time, and we loved hanging out with him and having him around. And
so you enjoy when your family comes to visit?
Yeah, I've never had like a bad.
So let's assume, just for the sake of a good time here, that you have an aunt.
Okay.
Right. Aunt Beatrice.
Okay.
Okay. And Auntie B. She sucks. She's terrible to be around.
Okay.
Right? She drinks too much. She tells crazy stories. She is just anxious about everything all the time.
Right.
Okay. And Auntie B is going to stay with you for 2 days.
Yay.
All right. As a matter of fact, Auntie B is going to sleep in your bed, and you're going to sleep on the couch.
Okay.
Okay. So how do you deal? What do you do for 2 days? Now, imagine, let's just put it in a realm that we can understand here. Let's say it's in the millennial household.
Okay.
So let's say your Auntie B is coming with her boyfriend. There's Auntie B and boyfriend Jim.
Okay.
Okay. And they're in the millennial household. So you have me and Justin to support you.
Uh-huh.
But Auntie B and Jim are here. What do you do?
Well, first, I don't think I would ever agree to them staying with me in the first place.
Their house burned down.
If they're that awful.
Their house burned down, and they have to stay with you. There's no choice.
My parents live here. Their brother or sister to one of them. I'm sure they'll be willing to help them out.
No, they can't. They can't.
So
they
it
have,
has
they
to
have
be
food
here.
poisoning. It has to be you. There's no other choice. It's 48 hours of anti-B.
Well, I mean, I guess I would just sit down with you and Justin and say, look, my Auntie B's coming over. She's the fucking devil. So what I need you guys to understand, don't make any loud noises. She hates loud noises. Don't mention her dog Scruff. She loves that dog, and he died 8 years ago. And she will be sad for the rest of the time here, and you will hate it.
Hate it.
So I would just have one of those talks with you two.
Okay.
And then just, hope everything just goes swimmingly.
Oh, you're a hoper. You just hope.
Yeah.
You just roll into it and just hope it's okay.
I mean, what can I do? My parents have food poisoning and my Auntie B's house burnt down.
Clearly, there's no other choice.
Clearly, I have to do this.
I feel that that's the best you can do with the situation you're given.
I mean, what can you do,
I am lucky enough to have chosen the poor decision in my life to begin smoking cigarettes.
Yes.
And the other members of my family have made better choices in their life and have not chosen to smoke cigarettes.
Ooh.
So I believe that if I had an anti-B, I would probably just go to the gas station and get like 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes and just be outside all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd just avoid her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would try also if she was that awful. But at the same time, it's like I can't leave my roommates alone with her.
Do you just tell everyone that you have work? And I mean, really, you don't. But you just go and sit in your truck for a few hours.
No, I'd probably be here with her to make sure she
Really?
wasn't intrusive on anybody who lived here.
Oh, that's very considerate.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I would do the same. For sure.
Oh, totally.
I definitely
I
wasn't.
see it in your eyes.
I wasn't about to explain how I would just go and watch a movie 4 times and say it was an 8-hour shift.
No, if I knew I had a family member coming over who was just like the worst, and knew that she would annoy everybody the chance that she got, it'd be a rough couple days, but I'd just stay here, try to keep her there. Probably try to get her out of the house too.
That's very considerate.
I just feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
I feel like most people don't do that.
Oh, well.
It's kind of a better you than me sort of thing.
That's how I was raised. Like
you were
those
raised
situations,
that if Auntie B comes to town, that it's your duty to take care of her.
100%.
I love it.
Yeah.
Parents raised you well, Adam.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. You done good. Your kid's gonna be a star.
We know you're listening.
But yeah, I don't know. That's just that's how I would do things. But
do you get crazy freaked out when people come to visit you? Like, do you have to get the house super clean and shave and look good?
I mean, yeah, I do those things. I'll do those things, but there are definitely been times that I haven't. I remember it was, I believe, my brother's graduation party. And my mom had asked me to edit this oh, good job, Thomas, kind of video just to Thomas through the years, right?
Yeah.
And of course I waited till the last minute to do it because that's just the Adam way.
He works well under pressure.
Apparently, yes. But so I did this video. I was up all night doing it. And I remember I didn't finish until 4 or 5 a.m. My parents had already been up at this point for the morning, right? And everybody was scheduled to come over at noon or 1, right? And when they came over, my dad came in and was like, "Hey, wake up, you have family here." And I was like, all right, I'll get up, But I mean, I was in a ratty brown shirt and gym shorts, and my hair was everywhere, and that was a day that I just did not care. I was like, here
that's
I
how you
am.
Presented yourself.
That's how I presented myself. But usually, I'll dress up. A lot of the times when I see family, it's always during holidays or special occasions.
It's the only time we're obliged to see our family.
Yeah, so you're really just dressing up anyway. I
feel like if you see your family other than vacations, it's because there was a disaster. You either see them for momentous occasions or terrible ones.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I feel like that's just naturally kind of what family naturally becomes as you get older and everybody kind of has their own lives going on. It's knowing that comfort of like there are still people who love me and there are still people who will help me out when I have a time of need.
I love you, Adam.
I mean, oh, thank you.
I do.
Love you too.
I've never told you that, but I've thought it often.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, bro. Now the whole world knows. Adam's gay.
What lies?
I told you. I knew he was.
No, but I've definitely have had people think that before.
Really?
Many people think this.
Didn't your mom ask you once if you were gay?
Yes, she's asked me. I've had friends ask me. I've had it's just something.
Are you?
Hell no, I am not.
Oh, okay.
No.
I thought maybe today was the day.
Me, no. Trust me, you make life a whole lot easier if I could just like men, but no.
You're like, I would be a catch.
Men love me, let me tell you.
So I will say that I neither am I. I'm not gay either, but I do love the gay community.
Yeah,
Some
of
my favorite people. Oh my God, I live with them. They're great. They throw the best parties. They're clean. Mm-hmm. They're intelligent, classy, sassy. All the things that I'm looking for in a life partner is described by a gay person. Yeah. The only thing is it's just I'm not into the penis.
Yeah,
it just doesn't do it for me.
Nope.
Which is really unfortunate. But the perfect life partner would basically just be like
a bro.
A broski, but without a penis.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Where
do you find that?
I don't know, man.
Do they exist anywhere?
I don't know. Maybe we just have to look harder. Maybe we'll find a girl that meets all of our boy needs.
Maybe we just need to try harder at being gay. Maybe we haven't tried hard enough.
How about no?
No?
No!
You're not willing to try if it brings you happiness?
I just know it's not something I'm going to enjoy, so you
could just tell.
Yes.
It's like Brussels sprouts. Like you don't eat them every day, but you know you don't like Brussels sprouts.
There's never even been an inkling in my mind that
just never wanted to try a Brussels sprout.
No. Which, by the way, I love Brussels sprouts.
Oh, do you?
But I do.
Can't stand them. They're disgusting.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Brussels sprouts.
But I love gay people, and you hate them, so.
I don't hate them.
He never said he hated them. He doesn't.
I live with a wonderful gay man.
I just think that, I've always heard that if you're a renter, like if you, not a renter, but a landlord, like if you own a rental property, that the best renters to find are gay couples. That they tend to take.
That's like a statistic?
Truly, yeah. So, they tend to keep it the most well-maintained as an investment. Yeah, look it up, guys. Not just pulling that out. It's true.
Well,
look it up.
Good for them. I'm happy for them.
The renters?
Sure. The gay people, the renters.
Everyone.
I'm happy for everyone.
Everyone's making money, making friends. That's what life's all about, making money and friends.
Yes.
And finding love. Should we throw that in there too?
Sure. Find love, guys. Find all the love that you want. So what else we got here? Now that we're done talking about gay people, I came out of left field.
I wasn't really done, but I guess I'm done now.
Oh, what
no,
else?
I'm just totally kidding.
No, Matthew. What else
there's
would
nothing
you like
else.
to say,
Oh my God,
Matthew?
I was just joking, and now I'm being called out.
How do you survive when? What would you do? Or do you think? Or what was it that you asked me earlier? Could a millennial be president?
I asked if you could be president.
If I specifically,
you, Adam Hansen. You think you could do it? Yeah. So we were talking about presidents and how they're always older, which makes sense. Older people have had more experience and whatnot. But we got into the topic of what if like a millennial, like someone like 25 years old, just became the president.
Right.
Right. And then it got me thinking, what if that person was Adam? Like, could you do it?
If that was like a lifelong goal of mine, I feel like, I could do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You could be the president.
If I applied myself.
Of the United States of America.
Yeah.
The commander-in-chief of the strongest military on earth.
Not like right now, but like with some practice and, 20, 25, 30 years, sure.
But then you're not, well, I guess you are still a millennial.
Yeah.
The whole point is you're the president now.
Oh, as a fucking 27-year-old, hell no, I could not.
Why?
I just couldn't. I just don't know enough about politics.
There were children that ran whole empires back in the medieval days.
Well,
dude.
good for fucking them. I like to
9-year-olds.
paint pictures instead. That's what I like to do with my free time.
So you just wouldn't want to be the president?
Yeah, I just don't care.
If
I
you
don't
had
care to learn about that kind of stuff. I learn about as much of it as I can, but like I can't make my life about it.
So let's assume that you were elected the president against your will. Okay.
Okay.
Like 58 million Americans all wrote Adam Hansen in.
I'd make it very clear about to fuck shit up. Better move out.
So what's your platform? What would you run on? What would you focus on?
If I had to run against my will?
Yeah, you're the president now. You have to be. We voted you.
Well, it doesn't matter what my platform is then. I clearly didn't have one.
You still have to do
if I
something
was
for 4
forced.
years.
I don't fucking know. Move out because I'm going to fuck up this country if you stay in it. All plane tickets to anywhere out of the United States is now free.
Just get the fuck out, guys.
It's not in the Constitution.
It's going to be a bumpy 4 years. So I thought about it, and I would totally be the president. I would. But I think I'd be a very poor president. I think where I would really shine is being like the vice president. Okay? Because I'm not really a captain seat kind of guy. I don't really take the helm and lead the way. But I am an excellent right-hand man.
Okay.
Like, wingman, if you're looking for a wingman, it doesn't get any better than me.
Yeah?
I know exactly what to say, when to say it. I will talk you up, I'll lie, whatever.
Have you wingmaned before?
How have I wingman?
What has been your strategy in the past for wingman?
Well, you got to make the girl want the other guy.
Well, yeah,
and then the most
obviously.
important thing of wingmanning, where everyone fucks up, okay? Because it's easy to give compliments. You can talk your boy up, right? Super easy. The trick of a good wingman is knowing when to get the fuck out. Because at a certain point, you've done all you can do for the equation. Okay,
Right.
You've added all the points to the scoreboard that you can get. And if you fuck around too much, you're going to start to outdo your boy. Because the girl's going to see this guy's got all the confidence.
Right.
He's the wingman. I want him.
Right.
So you have to know to selflessly, it's hard. Especially if the chick's very beautiful. It's hard to do. You got to be selfless. You got to get the fuck out and give your boy that chance to shine. And then if he fucks up, you keep an eye on it, right? Because you did a lot of work. You planted a lot of seeds over there. You keep an eye on it. If she walks away, well, then your boy fucked up. Then it's your turn.
I had a friend in Los Angeles where... So for those who may not have figured it out, I have a striking resemblance to the actor James Franco.
He does.
I get told it quite
Especially
often.
from behind.
Yes. I get told it quite often. So I used to have this friend in Los Angeles who we would go out to bars and then we'd be walking away from the bar with our drinks in hand or something. And my friend would see like a group of like 3 girls to our right. And he would like grab my hand and swing us over to be standing in front of them. And they'd go, "Hey girls, have you met my friend James Franco?" And then you just walk away.
Oh my God. And then you'd be stuck there like, I'm not
it
James
was
Franco.
a horrible way to wingman.
You're like,
there's
that's
nothing
not me.
I can do in this situation. It was
Did
just
you ever
like,
once
look,
just be like, I'm going to just try to be fucking Franco. I'm going to just roll with it.
Yeah, there were a couple times, but like...
Everyone knows you're not Franco.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows.
I look like him. I am not him. You know, that's the
almost
big
a curse.
difference.
Because people are expecting you to be him. And,
Oh my gosh, when I was younger, I used to play tricks on people where I would be at because this was around right after high school. So this was like 2010, 2011 for me. And Franco was just starting to kind of get like he was starting to move out of the guy from Spider-Man and turn into James Franco, right?
Right.
So like this was a little bit after Pineapple Express came out.
Oh, great movie. Check
And
it out, guys.
so now I was getting to a point as I was getting older where I was starting to look more like him, and because he was becoming more known, people were recognizing his face and therefore recognizing the similarities, and people would come over to party with me and we'd be drinking and they'd be like, "You look so much like James Franco," and they would take a picture of themselves with me with their phone and send it to their friend as a joke saying like, "Oh, I'm partying with James Franco," and the friends would believe them. So then it turned into this, well, now I need you to call them and say that you're James Franco.
And you're like, dude,
So,
but I'm not.
But I did it. So I'd be on the phone with them, and they have no clue. Like, it's just on the phone. They're gonna have no fucking clue what's happening. And I would be like, yeah, I came down here because we're filming Pineapple Express 2. And I ran into these guys at a bar. They invited me back to their place, so we're just partying and having a good time. Just stupid shit like that. My brother used to do that too. I would get a random call from my brother, and he would go, James. I'd be like, oh, this is what we're doing right now.
This is what we're doing right now. You'd be like, hey.
You're like, yeah, my friend doesn't believe blah, blah. And I would give him the phone.
Like, well, your friend's smart. You should try to do, like, double work for him.
I did do double work for him.
What do you mean?
Yeah. I did for Oz the Great and Powerful. I did double work for him.
No way.
Yeah.
You were double for James Franco and Oz.
I was his stand-in in
the
his
actual
double.
movie.
Yeah, for the reshoots, not for the entire movie. But when they did 3 weeks of reshoots in L.A., I was his double. Yeah,
So you're in the movie?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, so just specific scenes.
Adam's famous, guys.
Just my back. And maybe I think the side of my face in one of them too. But yeah, so what happened was I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And when you're in Los Angeles I was doing a lot of like background acting work, right? So that's when you're just
Like
on
voiceover and stuff?
No, not voiceover. Background work is like when you're watching a movie or a TV show and they're at a party and there's a bunch of other patrons at the party.
Like extras.
Yeah, extras.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I was subscribed to was this email list that would just send, it was called, I think, LA Casting. And they would just send you emails of like, hey, there's an audition for this. There's an audition for this. There's an audition for this. And you can't just go through like, oh, I could audition for this, or this sounds like something I'd fit well for, whatever it is. A lot of them were like, hey, do you have like a bratty teenage girl? We might be looking for you for an episode of Maury. Like shit like that was a big contenders on this email list. But one day I got home from work and I was going through the emails on this list. I had just gotten a job at a sports authority in Los Angeles.
Nice. Moving up in the world.
Yeah. And I was going through this email list, and all of a sudden, in all caps, one of the emails were, we need a James Franco lookalike ASAP. And I was like, well...
You're like, this is my moment.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, I've only gone how much I look like this man for years now. So I went and I sent him both my headshots. I had a headshot with a goatee, and then I had a headshot where I was my hair was straight, and then I had no facial hair. And I sent them both of them, and dude, 10 minutes, I got a call back.
They're like, it's fucking Franco's double.
Yeah. So, and they asked me like, hey, we want to meet you. Can you come down onto the Sony lot this day or whatever? I'm like, yes, of course.
You're like,
yes,
hell yeah,
absolutely,
I'll be there.
I'll do that. And I remember I got there. I was the first one there on the Sony lot in this little place that we were meeting on the Sony lot. And I was sitting there waiting, and they were going to be meeting with me and like 4 other potential doubles for Franco. And as I was sitting there, one of the other people who was there for the same thing walked over, and I looked up from my phone, and the guy looked at me and stopped it. He goes, well, I'm not getting this job.
No kidding.
Yeah.
He's like, you look exactly like
dead
fucking
serious.
Well, I'm not getting this job.
And sure enough, it was all 5 of us there. They literally lined us up, and they had a picture of Franco in each of our headshots, and they were literally just kind of like doing
well, this is a no contest.
And they called me and said, hey, we think you do it. And even when they called me and said you got the job, they were like, wow, you are uncannily look like James Franco.
That's crazy. Hey, there's worse people to look like.
Yeah, worse people to look like.
He's a handsome devil.
So they did the reshoots here, and I was standing double for him during those reshoots.
So did you get to meet any famous people?
Oh, yeah, I met all of them. So everyone was on that movie. So I met, except
dude,
for...
like Mila Kunis is in that movie. Did you get to meet her?
I met Mila Kunis.
No way!
Yeah. I met Mila Kunis, James Franco, obviously. Michelle Williams was also on that. Zach Braff.
Dude, fuck all of those guys. What's Mila Kunis like?
Fuck Zach Braff. He's the main guy from Scrubs. You love that show.
I do love that guy, too. He's amazing. Oh, wait, JD? You met that guy?
No, is that the white guy?
The goofy white doctor.
Yeah, the main guy.
Yeah, the main guy.
Yeah.
You met him?
Yeah, Zach Braff.
Oh,
That's
I bet
his
he's
name.
nice.
So he thought I was James Franco.
We're telling you guys, he looks a lot like Franco.
So, and mind you, not only do I look like James Franco, but when you're on set, they go the extra mile to make you look even more like James Franco.
Right.
So I'm standing there and when you're a stand-in, what that means is that you stand in one place where the actor will eventually stand and read his lines, and they'll tell you to look at like a pink X or something, which is where Franco will be looking, and you'll look at it for like 2 to 3 hours while they're setting up the lighting for that scene. And then the actor
you're
comes
just like
in.
you're like the mannequin. They're
Yeah.
just making it look good on you, so it looks good on him.
And then the actor will come in for like 5-10 minutes, and then he'll actually do the scene. But then there'll also be, but as far as the double work is concerned, that's like if there's like a scene that's far away from Franco, so you can't really tell it's Franco, like I'll do that scene instead. So a lot of times it's just like establishing shots of him walking and things like that. But so I was doing that, and I was standing on this like yellow brick road thing they had made for the movie, and I was staring at this X, and I kept hearing somebody from beside me kept saying like James or hey, or trying to get my attention. But I had learned from my first few days on this set, if somebody tells you to look at a pink fucking X, you don't ever look away from that pink fucking X.
They will yell at you.
Yeah, they absolutely will. And so like I'm like, sorry bro, I can't fucking look at you.
Bro.
Like I have to look at this X. And then finally they, call for the actors to come in, and I turned, and Zach Braff stayed there, goes, oh, shit, you're not James Franco. And he held out his hand and goes, hi, I'm Zach. And I was like, hi, I'm Adam. And,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You touched him?
I shook his hand. Oh, wow. I shook James Franco's finger. That's
He gave
how
you a finger?
He gave me a finger, dude. So
That says a lot about his personality.
when I first got there, the first thing they wanted me to do, even before I did any work, they wanted to actually put me next to Franco. And we even had to do this thing where like we put our hands out in front of us and spread our fingers, and then we put our hands on top of each other because they wanted to make sure our skin tones were very similar.
Uh-huh.
And so after that whole like thing and everybody walked away, I just put out my hand and said, hi, I'm, Adam, pleasure to meet you. And he like had books in his hand and like something in the other, and he just put out his finger, and I shook that, and he didn't say a word to me. He just smiled and nodded, and I walked away. And he didn't really say much to me the whole time on set.
So Zach Braff was definitely the better one to meet.
Yeah, he was cool. I didn't have a lot of interactions with a lot of like the actors. They were just like small little interactions I had with them in passing. I talked to her a little bit.
Really?
So the way I met,
does her voice really sound like that?
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Oh yeah, she's super short though, dude. Like,
she's short?
Yeah, like
really?
Yeah, super short.
Wow.
Like so, the first time I met her was actually my first day on set before I even did any work. I was in the makeup trailer, and I had long hair like I do now. But in the movie, Franco has short hair, so they had to basically cut my hair to look like Franco. So I was just waiting in this chair, waiting for that to happen. And as I'm sitting there waiting, the door slams open to the trailer, and Mila Kunis just like walked in in casual clothes and was like, "When the fuck is?" She said something like, "When the fuck is call time?" Like somebody told me this, and this person told me this, and everybody got makeup in this same room. So there were times I'm getting my makeup done, and Franco's sitting to my left, and Mila Kunis is sitting to my right.
That is incredible, dude.
Yeah, it was a cool experience.
You talk about it so nonchalantly.
Well,
does it lose its luster on like day 3?
So not just working on the sets, but at least for me, just living in Los Angeles, the whole thing kind of loses its luster.
You probably did you meet like any other famous, like you meet a good amount of famous people?
So it's not that you meet a good amount of famous people. It's that when you're in some place like Los Angeles, it's hard not to run into them. So at first
they just live there.
Yeah.
Work there.
So at first you think it's this kind of grandiose thing of like, oh my gosh, that's this person. And then all of a sudden a week later it happens again. And then that same week it happens again.
And you're like,
then
it's just Bill getting donuts.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Like I used to work at a sushi restaurant when I first moved there on Beverly Hills, right?
Really? And
there was one time I was working, and you just saw Russell Brand just walk down the street. He's you know who he is. He's a comedian. He always talks like this. He was married to Katy Perry.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, he's easy to tell too.
So he was just like walking on the sidewalk in Beverly
It's
Hills,
hilarious.
right? Or like one time I was working at a shoe store in a mall, and like it was super early in the mall. The stores were just opening, and Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park and his kids like just walked past.
That's amazing.
You know, so you end up. I was in Guitar Center once, and Ed Helms from The Office like showed up in there and was just playing on the instruments. He's a musician. So like once that all happens, it's like it just kind of loses its luster. And then when you're on a set like Oz the Great and Powerful, that was also that. It was also kind of an instance that I think deterred me a little bit from the film industry at that point, because there was just so much hot-headedness and arrogance that I dealt with on that set that I was just like, I would never.
When you get to that level,
this.
it's probably hard to not think that you're in a different realm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when you're
exactly.
like the director of Oz.
Well,
and I can see that guy.
But there were certain things that just, little things that bothered me. So Sam Raimi was the director. Sam Raimi is the guy who did the original Evil Dead. And he was also the guy who did the original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. So.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's he's done hit movies though. He's no.
He's better than me for sure.
He's not
so
a
rock
small-time
on.
director at all.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is a Disney film, so it's not like this is a cheap movie either that you're on set with. And there were just little things like there was a shot that we did where it was James Franco walking from we had this giant yellow brick road, right? But it was covered in, everything else was covered in blue screen. And he was walking down this yellow brick road, and then he would when they yelled cut, he did this funny little stride thing once back to the other side, right? Something that if you or I or Justin or anybody watched would have been chuckle worthy, right? Now, mind you, there's 50 to 100 crew members, and everybody's laughing like the leader of North Korea just made a joke, and you have to laugh. It felt so fake,
wow.
Matthew. So fake.
Is it because he expects them to laugh? He's like, you'll laugh at me.
I don't know if it's...
Or they're just butt kissing.
I think it's just butt kissing. I think it's you keep the actor happy because the actor's really the one that leads the movie.
Yeah.
But so there were things like that. Sam Raimi, the director, could never get my name right.
Adam?
I kept getting called Alan. And the thing is, it's okay, fine, I get it that...
He was making it harder. He was adding letters to your name.
Yeah, right? So, but so you're getting... So things like that bother me, but you can't, and the first few times I'd be like Adam, but then it'd turn into what, and I'd be like Adam. So now you're the one wasting time by correcting the director.
So after a while you just, I'm Alan.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right. They call Alan, I'm coming.
Yeah, and that bothered me. It's to me, it's just regardless of who I am, it's disrespectful,
Well, I mean, time is literally millions of dollars in Hollywood.
Well, and I get that, but that's the difference of how I would want to run a film set later on.
I mean, time is literally life or death in the military, and they'll get your name right.
Well,
so you would think that Hollywood film set could get your name right.
I worked with an assistant director too that was just an asshole. He had he had this dry sense of humor that was if you didn't get it, fuck you.
Oh my.
Kind of thing. And it was and remember, I was on this set.
How dare you not understand my joke?
Well, there was a time he told me that, remember, at this point, I've worked on a lot of sets, and there was a time that he told me, hey, don't be sitting down, don't sit down, right? But I've already worked with this guy for a few days now to know this guy has a really dry sense of humor. So, and he said it in a way that could have been construed as a joke for him.
Right.
So I was just, joking back of, yeah, okay, I'm going to keep sitting down.
Yeah.
And eventually it wasn't a joke anymore.
Oh, he was really telling you to go do something.
And he was like, but there's nothing for me to do as a stand-in except stand there and wait for when they need
He did
me.
not want you to be sitting down.
He did not want me to be sitting. This was the first set I ever worked on with that was not okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so then I was told to get lost by him.
Oh, no kidding.
And then things later on, there was a point where there was the actress Michelle Williams who had to climb up this little these stair things with her dress. And and I'm standing at my point over further up on this thing. And the guy made a comment of like a man would hold a girl's hand to help her up the stairs or whatnot. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I've been only yelled at for the past 2 weeks about, God forbid if my eyes go a little left.
You're like, this is not an improv session.
Yeah.
I'm doing what you told me to do.
And now you're telling me to move after I've just been told for 2 weeks to not fucking move. Come on. So
it was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
So yeah, so going back to why I talk about it a little nonchalantly, it's just just because like it was a cool opportunity, just not the funnest experience.
Yeah,
You
it was
know?
definitely work.
Yeah, and whereas I was hoping that maybe something could come from that and I'd be used for maybe Franco's double in the future. But like there was a point when Franco did a commercial soon after that. And instead of asking me who lived in Los Angeles, they asked for this guy who lived in Michigan
Oh my
to like
gosh.
fly down and
That's
do
ridiculous.
it. Yeah, so just stupid shit like that. The politics of the industry just are that. They're politics.
I guess the grass is always greener, right? And then you get there and realize it's not exactly what we thought it was.
Yeah, but I mean, but I'm glad I had that experience. It was, I did have fun points, and it was cool to be able to say I at least had that experience.
It's something most people don't get to do.
Yeah,
it's really
exactly.
cool.
And I keep that in mind, and I'm very thankful that I had it. But it did open my eyes to a lot of things, and that's probably a good thing that it did, honestly.
Well, now you're doing it for yourself, Adam.
Now I'm doing it for myself, and
and for you
continue to do
guys.
so.
Now you guys get to be a part of Adam being famous.
Yes. I'm glad you could join me on this journey. Well, we've gone 10 minutes over today.
Yeah, we got into Adam was telling some stories today, guys.
Yeah,
that was
it
fun.
was. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, we'll end it here. Remember, you can follow us on all the social media platforms. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. Stay tuned within the next week for another video coming your way. And remember, we do still have the GoFundMe going. GoFundMe.com/HardlyMillennial. If you're able to put $1 in the jar, it's greatly appreciated.
Helps a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you've been doing, liking, subscribing, and most importantly, just share it with your friends, guys. That's the biggest help you can do.
Yep, and we appreciate all the views and all the subscribers we get, and we hope you enjoyed today's Hardly Millennial podcast.
More than just hardly. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.